Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And Sam, it's jingle time.
Simply the best, better than all the rest.
Yep. That's right. Better than all the rest, according to this listener review that comes from JBAUD. I'm not even going to guess on that one. I'm just going to say JB. So this one comes from JB, who writes, my favorite podcast. I am a big Disney Cruise Line fan. We've used DCL to see the world as a family. Listening to these podcasts reminds me of why I love DCL so much, but it has also given me tremendous insight into the other options available. I do agree with many of the points discussed on the podcast. I so appreciate hearing about other cruise lines, different ports, and different views all around. This show is a perfect blend of love of Disney, the cruising lifestyle, and the vast array of options out there. I appreciate the cruise reviews. Everyone they interview has such an interesting point of view. I hope that in the future I can meet up with Sam and Brian on a cruise. So far, I have listened to at least 45 episodes. I cannot wait for the day that I have successfully listened to them all. Thank you for creating a forum to talk, discuss, enjoy, critique, and share a love of Disney Cruise Line. Please keep it up. Maybe one day you'll interview me. Well, JB, I'll just send a shout out, man. This is 2 years old, but if you've been on a sailing and we haven't had you on the show, you should reach out. We love having listeners on the show to share their experiences. So definitely reach out. But for now, I'll say thank you for that review. Sam, I don't know if you want to say anything in response to the review.
I love it. I love the idea of how we cover, cruise lines apart from Disney and do some comparison. I'm actually excited about today's episode for a number of reasons, but one of which is that our guests brought along the older generation who are Viking cruisers. And so I'm looking forward to hearing.
But before you introduce them, Sam, I need to give my PSA really fast, is yes. Thank you for that review, JB. If you are out there listening to the show and enjoying the content, please head over to Apple Podcasts, hit those 5 stars. It's one of the easiest ways to help support the show. If you leave us a written review, we will read it on the air at the top of one of our main episodes. And if you're on any of the other podcast platforms out there, Spotify, whatever it is, if it's popcorn buckets, thumbs up, stars, rainbows, I don't just hit them all, give them all to us because it helps us get the show out to more people. So there you go. Now, Sam, intro the guests. Yes.
Yeah. No, I love that we've got 2 repeat guests on our show today. They were on a few years back. They are back. They're still cruising on DCL. They dragged Lyndsey's parents with them as well, who hadn't been on DCL in 10 years, who are normally Viking cruisers. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear about that perspective. But I got to first say, welcome back to the show, Lyndsey and Vincent. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
It's so lovely to see you again. Now, it's been a while since we talked. You just came back from your 4th cruise on Disney Cruise Line. You gotta remind folks of your Disney backgrounds, because I know there's a little cast member experience in that background.
There's a lot.
There's a
lot. We both grew up going to the parks, myself a little more than Vincent. And when we first got together, I knew that I needed to make sure he was a Disney person, because I didn't know if I could be married to somebody who wasn't. Turns out on the first trip that I planned, he was planning to propose. That led to a wedding in front of the Tree of Life.
That's where we're going to grow our life together.
All the sweet metaphors.
I love that. That's Vincent, that's just really cute. That
unique, right? It's not as often that you get a Tree of Life proposal versus a castle proposal. So really, really special. That led to playing a wedding. We got married at Walt Disney World. We became Disney Vacation Club members as well. We honeymooned in Disneyland and Aulani because it was during COVID, and we were like, cool, where can we go? We'll use our points, right? And kind of do a US tour of Disney, if you will. And then started cruising together on Disney shortly after we got married in 2023. It was our first Disney cruise together. But we also have sailed on Virgin together. I've got some Norwegian experience. He's got some celebrity. And he recently sailed on Ritz-Carlton Ilma for work last.
For work? Who sends you on the Ritz-Carlton ship for work?
Accepting applications, they need lawyers.
Yeah, do they need lawyers? I mean,
yeah, it was for work.
We are a growing company.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll chat offline.
Yeah.
So our cruise experience is a little bit vast, but we keep coming back to Disney for personal travel because it's just the best.
Can I just ask what it's not the focus of the show for everyone out there listening, but I just want to ask what you thought of Virgin, because it's one of our it's probably our top two is Disney and Virgin. So what did you think of Virgin overall?
We liked
The food was fantastic.
We liked the food a lot.
I love the styling. Like the styling,
the design
and the decor
of the
is
ship,
awesome.
The way that they designed some spaces. Unfortunately, I don't think that ship performs well in bad weather. And our sailing was in bad weather. And as you know, from their ships are, all the same layout. I mean, there are so many communal spaces that are outside. And if you have bad weather, those can't be used.
Yeah,
and
you're sitting on top of each other almost.
Right. The inside spaces get really crowded and they're really loud. And it just, that
changes the vibe.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time in our stateroom. To be honest, that sailing, they have an incredible
movie library.
Movie library. Just that.
Lots of new shows that had come out at that time.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, this is a very personal bias, but we, day two,
something was off.
We missed the kids. We missed the joy that families bring to a vacation experience. And so, I said, the food was great. We'll pick Disney over Virgin. Personally, that's a very personal thing,
Fair enough. Our ratio to Virgin to Disney is 35-2. So we only sail occasionally, but yeah.
Well, we are very excited to talk about your recent sailing on DCL. You sailed on the Disney Treasure Eastern Caribbean 7-night itinerary. Of course, the best of the Caribbean, Bahamian itineraries in the fleet. We say hands down. And of course, on the Treasure, fantastic ship. But this was a little celebration. Why don't you tell our audience what you all were celebrating and why you brought mom and dad on board, Lyndsey?
Yeah, of course. So this cruise was our Babymoon trip. We are pregnant with our first. I'm currently 22 weeks pregnant, though we sailed when I was 18 weeks pregnant. So we just kind of got off the ship a month ago, and we brought my parents along because we're really close with them, and they wanted to travel with us one more time before we had kids. And we thought, well, let's do this together. They love cruising on Viking. So they loved their first Disney experience. It was 10 years ago, but we thought, why not? Why not kind of combine the two together? And it was really the perfect Babymoon for us.
Yeah, what a great way to celebrate the upcoming arrival to your whole family and to get them aboard a Disney ship, see how they like it. I honestly think one of the best things about Disney Cruise Line is that multi-generational cruising. I can't wait for when you've got your little one and it's you two and your parents also, because they're going to see the magic again through your child's eyes, and they are just going to go gaga for that. The grandparents,
we haven't heard the grandparent review of the cruise yet.
No,
So
I
they
know.
may have booked it right back to Viking for all we know.
No, but Tim's right. I mean, that
It
new
doesn't matter.
That new ad that the DCL released in March, I opened it unknowingly, watched the video, and pregnancy or hormones raging. I was ugly crying so hard that I was I can't go get the mail right now. The neighbors will think something's wrong. Because it's so sweet. It's so good. And I was and because we were planning this trip, I thought, gosh, that's us. That's us right now.
Yes,
right?
That's your future. Yeah. Well, and honestly, even if we're not going to spoil their review yet, we'll get to it later. But even if they didn't love this cruise, I can guarantee that they will be willing to sail again when you have that little one, in order to be able to watch that little one interact with characters and do activities, play in the splash pad, all of the things that you will do on board. So it doesn't matter whether they liked it or not as an adult without sailing with children. It matters that they will absolutely go back. I can all but guarantee it. All right. Well, let's start with why you chose this sailing in particular. And then were there any things you had to be concerned about, or you were concerned about being pregnant and sailing on any major cruise line, frankly?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started this process about a year ago, about a year out from sailing. Mm-hmm. Just the initial conversation with my parents. Hey, we want to travel with you. And I'll be brief in my part about this. But last year I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis. And so as we were starting that planning process, my surgery was getting scheduled. And for those who don't know, endometriosis is a condition where tissue that's similar to the inside of the uterus grows outside of the uterus and can grow. And in my case did all over the abdominal cavity. And the only real way to diagnose and treat is surgery. And it can affect your fertility and a lot of different aspects of your life. It's like a chronic inflammatory disease. So we were starting the surgery planning process around the time we were starting to talk about this vacation process, and knowing that there's a cutoff to when you can sail pregnant, right? You can't sail past 24 weeks. We knew when my surgery was, and we knew when we were going to be cleared to start trying to conceive after surgery. And we kind of went, okay, well, we have to pretend that we're going to get pregnant right away. And what's 24 weeks out from there? And even if it doesn't happen, great, we have a buffer. But if it does, we need to be ready, right? And miraculously, we conceived in the second month of trying, which is a really big deal for someone with my severity of condition. And we had already picked an itinerary, the 24 weeks. So we were in the buffer, right? And we knew that my parents love to cruise. We love to cruise. I figured that it would probably be the easiest thing for me as the main point of like planning contact for this trip to facilitate and plan pregnant. Like, you don't really have to think about it once you book it, right? So I knew that I wanted the treasure. That was a non-negotiable for me. Like, if we're going to do a big celebratory trip, it's got to be on the newest ship. We wanted to sail on the treasure since it came out, right? But we've done Western Caribbean enough. Like, I've been to Cozumel. Like, I want to do something else. And my parents, on their only other DCL sailing with us, had been Western Caribbean. So we picked Eastern Caribbean because why not? And people just rave about it, right? So we picked an Eastern Caribbean sailing within that 24-week buffer and went from there. It just
so happened to be around the spring break.
It fell on
some of the kids.
Spring break. So he was able to step away from work and everything worked out.
That's amazing. I love when a plan comes together, right? When you can choose the ship you want to be on, the itinerary you want to be on, the number of nights you want to be. I mean, more nights is always better. So that's just my recommendation. Like, just as many nights as you can afford.
Oh, okay. Right? And my parents, again, they sail in Viking, and we'll get, deeper into them later, but their typical length of sailing is between 15 to 20 days.
Yeah, 14.
On Viking, nonetheless. My God, living the dream. The dream.
So we started this, and my mom says, well, I think a shorter sailing, like 7 nights, a shorter sailing would be fun. And I just fell out of my seat. Like, Mom, most people would not describe 7 nights as a shorter sailing. But it was perfect for all of us.
Well, and on Disney, it's not a shorter sailing. A shorter sailing is 3 or 4 night sailing. A longer sailing is a 7-night sailing. It's rare that you get more, longer itineraries. Only the Panama Canal, transatlantic, occasionally get a Southern Caribbean, right? Like, there might be a couple of European sailings that are, an 8-night
or something.
Or something. Exactly. So it's so funny but that's the frame of reference, because there are those cruise lines that do cater to an older demographic, let's be frank about it, who can go on a 2-week or a 3-week cruise. Whereas those of us who are still in the workforce and maybe have kids that are school aged, that's just not in our, not in our vacation budget. Let's put it that way. All right. Well, let's talk about that pre-planning process. I'm going to throw this question to Vincent. I know that Lyndsey was the primary planner, but were there things that you guys were looking to book ahead of time that you were focused on getting, whether, adult activities, adult dining, things like that?
So I'm a huge Marvel fan. So knowing that we were going to be able to have a few nights at Marvel, that's really all I cared about. And then I also am just, it also came back down to a little bit more of what Lyndsey was going to be experiencing as well for her pregnancy. So we didn't really necessarily concern ourselves around some of the excursions. I mean, obviously now that they have the new Mickey Mouse water slide, I can entertain myself as well on the ship, even when all of the other guests are, at port.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't have to, I mean, you certainly don't have to book anything in advance in terms of excursions. Like you can go at all the ports that Disney goes to in the Eastern Caribbean. That's Tortola, St. Thomas, and of course, Castaway. Castaway technically is in the Bahamas, but that's on that itinerary. But Tortola and St. Thomas, you can absolutely get off and like walk around on your own and like hop into, a few shops, hop in, get a rum drink at Puster's if you want to, or an NA drink, of course, for Lyndsey. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty to do without, pre-booking anything. Were you looking at any adult dining, Lyndsey? Did you want to do, a Palo brunch or dinner or Enchantè, for example?
Yeah, we did book both Palo and Enchantè. I was hoping that I was going to be in the phase of my pregnancy where I was like, going to want to eat everything. And I was right before we get there. I was right in that. But to Vincent's point, I didn't want to sacrifice nights at Worlds of Marvel, and I didn't want to sacrifice nights at Coco either. Because that's his favorite Pixar movie. And we were both huge Marvel fans. So we booked Enchantè lunch and we booked Palo dinner on Pirate Night so that we weren't going to be that game of sacrificing another rotational dining just in case the dining team couldn't help us on embarkation day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the ways you can sort of avoid it takes quite a bit of planning, is to like find out what the dining rotations are, right? So you have to call Disney Cruise Line maybe like, a couple months before you're sailing. And then you're like, with doing this gamesmanship, as Lyndsey mentioned, to try and figure out, okay, I got to now move my dinners to certain nights. Pirate Night, of course, is a great one to choose if you don't care about missing the Pirate Night menu and you're not going to get the show in any of the restaurants.
We've done it. It's okay.
Right.
That like soup with the carrot cake croutons is great, but we've done it, right? It's okay.
Exactly. And then, but if you want to do more than one, it takes a lot of it takes some arranging and a little bit of gambling to make sure you'll be able to switch things on board, either switch your dining rotation or switch what night you pre-plan to go to adult dining. So that totally makes sense. I think that's a great option. All right. Well, let's talk about planning for the parents. Was there anything that you you took the reins of planning, Lyndsey. Were there things that you were booking for your folks? Like, did they want to do any of the adult dining, or did they do the ones with you? Did they want any, drink tastings or anything like that?
I did book the dining for us all to go together, because we were already going to be together for dinner, right? And my parents, like us, probably more so, are even bigger food snobs than us. So I knew that they would appreciate the adult dining. Also knowing their experience on Viking, that was going to be closer to what they would be experiencing nightly, So I wanted them to experience it. And I, as far as excursions, I said, go for it. Book whatever you like. I walked them through the app. They didn't book any drink tastings. They mostly just had like wine with dinner if they wanted it. But also because we were sailing spring break week, things were harder to grab.
For sure. Now, you still can book things on board if you miss out by not getting something in your booking window. There's usually some spots that are reserved for onboard booking. So I recommend logging onto that app as soon as you are in the port terminal. You can log onto the app, get all signed up, and then see if you can book, add on things. If not, you can always go and request at either guest services, or if it's a dining request, you can go to where they handle dining requests on board on that first day, on embarkation day. Beyond embarkation day, you're probably out of luck. If you have not gotten something, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's still possible, but it becomes a lot more difficult. Embarkation day is kind of that last minute scramble to get, something that you weren't maybe able to get. All right, well, let's talk embarkation. Well, let's talk traveling down to the port first, because you don't live in Florida. So, Vincent, I'll throw this one to you. Tell us, when did you get down? You're sailing out of Port Canaveral. When did you get down to Orlando? Did you do some parks time ahead of time, or what was the plan?
So we actually took a red eye because we're over in Phoenix. We're West Coast. So we got there like super early, tried to sleep on Thursday morning, just so that way we could be prepared to then just grab breakfast at the Grand. With my in-laws there once they also arrived, and then we just kind of hung out.
Yeah, like the rest of the day on Thursday.
We our home property is the Riviera, So then we walked over, or not
Took the
walked,
Skyliner.
we skylined over to the Riviera and hung out there for a little while. And then actually my brother-in-law and sister-in-law also traveled in. So that was also the cool thing. So, before actually going on the cruise, we got to see those guys as well. And then on Friday, we got to go to Magic Kingdom, all 6 of us.
Yeah.
So that was an awesome experience because my brother-in-law had never been to Disney World.
I'd never been.
Had never been.
Lyndsey, what is wrong with your brother?
I know. Well, I know.
Well, yeah, he's married into the family.
Yeah, they just.
It's her
okay.
brother-in-law too. So I just
it's
want
your brother-in-law too.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that for anybody listening. We still love him. We still love you, Will.
We love him.
Shout out to Will. I'm glad you had your
He's
first
a trooper.
experience.
He's a trooper.
Yeah,
He was great. He was
a full day at Magic Kingdom. That's the way
he
to
enjoyed
start.
it. He really had a great time.
It was good. But we stayed at the Polynesian Thursday night and Friday night, and then took Disney transportation to the port on Saturday.
Nice. Perfect. All right. Well, what was your port arrival? Well, your port arrival time didn't matter because you're taking Disney transportation. What time did you all have to meet in order to get on the bus from the Poly?
Yeah, it was around between 9 and 9:30 was our gather in the lobby time.
Yeah, had one more family breakfast.
Yeah, we had breakfast, that morning, and then gathered in the lobby, and off we went. It was we all honestly slept on the bus after the long day at Magic Kingdom the day before. We arrived at the port by 10:45, and they just walked us right through.
Did your bus have any stops after the Poly, or did it take you straight there?
No,
there was only Poly guests. There's a lot of us.
There were a lot.
Staying
whole bus.
Yeah.
There was not one seat.
No, the whole bus was full.
Well, let's talk about embarkation. Now, you all, it's nice to be on one of those Disney buses because you kind of get escorted into the terminal pretty swiftly and right to the check-in desks. What group number did they end up giving you once you got to the port? Because oftentimes they give you an earlier group number than the one you were assigned online.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you mentioned that because an assigned time popped up on our page, right? It was group 6, and they hand you those little slips of paper when you board the bus with a character on it. I didn't know there was anything written on the back. And on the back, it said that we could board on group 3. So we were hanging out, and it was fine, right? We were hanging out at the port, taking pictures with the photographer. We weren't in a rush. Honestly, I used that time to connect to the ship Wi-Fi and book the reservation for the ship tour. So glad I heard about that on another one of your episodes. So I grabbed that and
I got to do a little bit of work.
Yeah, last minute connectivity before we got on the ship, and we boarded with group 6, which was totally fine. But if anyone's taking Disney transportation, flip your character paper over. There's another boarding group on there.
Yeah, they generally move you up. So if you were assigned, yes. I mean, you won't be assigned group 18. You're probably assigned one of the earlier groups to start with, but they tend to move you up to group 3. And the reason they don't move you up beyond group 3 is because group 1 is concierge bookings and group 2 is Pearl Cruisers. So unless you're a Pearl Cruiser taking Disney transportation, then you'll be assigned group 2. But if you're any other group number, if you're taking Disney transportation, you may have been, especially if you're on one of those early buses, it's likely you will have been bumped up to an earlier group number. So just flip over the paper.
Yeah.
I
didn't even realize it till we got home too, because I'd stuck them in our passports. And we were unpacking, and I was like, "Oh, these are so cute." You're joking. There's instructions on the back.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal.
But being in the terminal is a great opportunity to get onto the ship Wi-Fi and start booking activities. The thing you mentioned, the ship tour, it's an adult-only booking activity. It's free. You can't book it ahead of time, meaning before your cruise. You have to book it on embarkation day or some other day. But it's called something like Imagineering the Treasure, and it's called that for all of the Wish class ships. And if you go to the app and you're on the onboard, it's sort of like onboard activities. You can add it as an onboard activity, and they'll usually have a few different times and days it's offered, and you can reserve it for any of the adults in your party. And you just show up to a specified meeting location, and it's about an hour-ish long. And one of the entertainment cast take you around the ship, and they point out really cool design details, Imagineering details, I talk about the carpets, the pictures on the walls, or the Monica blue color of the ship's hull, right? Like all kinds of details and stories that they can tell you about what was sort of put into the ship. It's a really great tour. I recommend it. On the Wish class is called that, and it's called the Art of the Theme Ship Tour, or Art of the Theme Show Tour on the 4 older ships. I don't know if it's offered on the Adventure, so if anyone knows that, feel free to. There is a whole Imagineering video on YouTube that Walt Disney Imagineering put out that you can find, but I don't know if there's a tour on the ship that does that. It's quite a big ship, so maybe not. Well, let's
say super quick too. Even just going backwards, when we first, we're talking about being married and starting this whole life together. Lyndsey was talking about making sure that I was in it for the long haul with this whole Disney infatuation, right? And so we watched Imagineering, and that sold me so much more. So if anybody also hasn't watched the 6-part series on Disney Plus, Imagineering, highly recommend it.
The Imagineering story.
Yeah. Love it.
And Disney has several different series that it's done in similar vein about different rides, and all really fantastic to learn about the sort of the design of either a ride or a cruise ship or a show, right? Like there is so much that goes into the production of those things, both on the engineering side and the creative side. It's just incredible to hear the stories of those people involved in these huge projects. Yeah, it's awesome. All right, well, I got to talk Embarkation Day traditions. Of course, you guys walk in the beautiful Disney Treasure Grand Hall and have your family name announced. And I'm sure that's a wonderful moment. I got to ask, what was the moment like? But then what was your we have to go do X? What is that sort of moment for you when you get on a Disney ship?
Well, the atrium is gorgeous. And everybody says this, but it's so true. The pictures don't do it justice. And the renderings didn't do it justice. Everyone says this, the renderings look really dark. It's not that dark in person. It's rich in color. It's vibrant and elegant at the same time. It's gorgeous. So we, of course we take our selfie with the atrium statue, and we ooh and ah and say hi to, the characters on the balcony. I think it was the genie when we walked in. I can't remember. Yeah. And my parents, having previously sailed on the Fantasy, it's very different, right? Very different feel. They were immediately impressed, and we just kind of stood and took in the Grand Hall. The first thing we did was
get coffee.
No, we got food because we were pretty hungry.
It's typically one or the other. Yeah,
get coffee or get food.
The two most important things about a cruise, in my mind, getting coffee or getting food.
Come on now, Sam. The most important thing about a cruise in your mind is the entertainment. Everyone knows you. Come on.
Fair, but the only second to that might be the food and the coffee.
Yeah, so we might have gone straight there. We might have gone to Triton's lounge to look or to ask our dining. If our dining table was going to be private, like just our stateroom and my parents' stateroom. I know we did that. I can't remember if we did it before or after we got food, but it was one of those two things that we did right away.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make. You can put a request in ahead of time, but you don't actually know for sure until you show up, and you might show up at dinner even though you've requested a private table, and find out that you've been seated with 4 other guests. And so it can be a little awkward. So if you are really, if your preference is more than a preference, let's put it that way. If your preference is really strong, I highly recommend doing exactly what Lyndsey and Vincent did. Go to wherever they're doing dining changes and just go, and they can double check to see if you have a private table. And most of the time, those private dining requests are honored. It's just there are times where the sailing's really full or it falls through the cracks. So it does happen. But it's not a bad idea to double check if it's something you're really you feel strongly about.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I thought about as pertaining to being pregnant, because I was hoping that I was going to feel really good, but what if I got to dinner one night and I was really not feeling good, or I was really grumpy or something? Like we make friends very easily, but do I want to subject strangers to whatever's happening
Lens.
with me physiologically. No, I don't. So let's just make sure we have a table, just the four of us.
Yeah.
And,
Do you want strangers to meet, I don't know, emo Lyndsey or hangry Lyndsey?
Probably not. Just, it was a thing that like you don't necessarily think about, but I had like a thought through moment in the planning process going, oh no, we should definitely make sure our table is private just in case.
All right. Well, you guys are sailing without kids, with kid to be. And so did you go to sit down lunch or did you go to Marceline Market for buffet lunch?
We went to sit down, just again, because of my parents' experience on Viking. They have a quasi buffet available, but it's not like a normal ship buffet. And because it gets crazy, it gets crazy on embarkation day. So sit down lunch was in Plaza de Coco, and it was excellent.
Yeah, so good. I mean, so also such a great introduction to that space before it gets really crowded, and without the show, and with it's more lit up, so you can kind of see the space more clearly than in the sort of nighttime decor. Not that it's beautiful in both settings, but you just kind of get it more empty when you first can, especially if you get in there early, like you probably did.
And you can take your time to explore that. You can't do that at dinner without disturbing your fellow neighbors, right?
Exactly. Well, let's dive into some of the experience you guys got up to on board. Can we just start with dining? Because I feel like we're on this like food train, and I want to ask about, of course, being pregnant, you can have some food cravings, food aversions, all that stuff. I'm curious how things were for you, Lyndsey, but I'm also really curious about how your parents viewed the food, because Viking is very well known for their food, for having excellent, very high quality, high end. You're also dealing with much smaller number of passengers. So with the smaller number of passengers on a luxury line, you do tend to get a higher quality of food, because you're not talking about like banquet food. And this is no shade to Disney. Like, their food is really excellent banquet quality food, but it's still being made for, thousands of people. And so that does impact that. Yeah. So I'm curious about sort of both of those aspects.
From a planning perspective, I was really intentional with the stateroom that we chose so that I could be close to the pool deck food. So I chose...
that was a game changer. Yes, of course, for her, but I'm also typically just eating.
I would send him
every 2 hours as well. Pizza? So I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it.
Exactly. I mean, who doesn't want like a taco in the middle of the afternoon or like a piece of pizza, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So our staterooms were on deck 10, right off the elevator bay. Like, when you're sailing, you learn like what the staterooms on your deck look like. Oh, we need to turn towards those staterooms, right? Like, we were those staterooms. So that was right next to the stairs to go right up to the pool deck food on deck 11. So that was very intentional. And we can start with pool deck food. Wow, so good. And everybody says that it's great on the Treasure. It just doesn't compare to the earlier 4 ships. Nothing wrong with the deck food on the others, but this is like just on another level.
Also the theming too.
Oh, it's so cute. We love that new Mickey Short style, right? Mm-hmm. Super cute. And yeah, everyone's right. The pizza is great. Very, very surprised with the quality of the pizza. Donald's Cantina, super yummy. The barbecue, everything. We ate at every station, and every station was great. I probably had 12 slices of pizza through the whole sailing. I would get like this mid-afternoon, I need pizza. I need like bread and cheese now, right? Craving. And so the pool deck food was great. Rotational dining was also great. And you're right. I did have a couple of times that I said to my parents, like, hey, the Treasure's supposed to have like some of the best food in the fleet. It's still not going to be like Viking. And that also came to mind for us, because when we sailed on the Magic last year, the food wasn't bad, but it wasn't the same as the food we'd experienced on the Fantasy the year prior. There was and maybe we had picked choices that like weren't the best. And like, maybe we hadn't listened to our servers' recommendations, or we, could have just picked the wrong things. But I thought, if our experience is like, if our experience on the Treasure is like what we had on the Magic, I don't know that my parents are going to be happy. So I made sure to really listen to our servers' recommendations on the Treasure. I got the server's recommendation almost every night. And there was only like one dish that I didn't totally love as far as rotational dining. And honestly, same thing with my parents. My parents really enjoyed the rotational dining menus, which was a huge relief to me as the like planner facilitator of all things. From a pregnancy perspective, don't you love you can order whatever you want off the menu? Like it doesn't have to be like, you know, a salad and entree. It could be whatever you want. Like that was really great. And also huge, as far as rotational dining, huge shout out to the dining team for handling Vincent's allergies, especially around dessert. Vincent cannot have any nuts or legumes.
So that was actually the most fascinating thing, was that they were so specific. As soon as I told them I can't have peas, like they had taken the next thought of saying, oh, can you have pea protein?
No.
And interestingly enough, I had also discovered that like 2-3 years ago. Like I didn't even think to be looking at, you know, some of these new alternatives.
Some of these things that they use in other, they use it as like a filler in some other.
An emulsifier. Yeah. It's in a lot. And they're apparently using it in a lot of desserts, I'm sure, in like the glazes or the sauce or different things. And so they were on top of it. Most nights Vincent couldn't have any of the options. And so it was like, hey, do you just want a surprise? Yeah, he'd love a surprise. Yeah.
And then they were so sweet enough to like actually give me the next night's menu
every night.
Look over it. Like it was just so thoughtful.
Yeah, they must have really upped their protocols around allergies since we sailed last year, because it was like just strict in a good way. It was really rigorous as far as here's the next menu. What would you like? You know, which we appreciated from a just a planning and safety perspective. But he got to try some really fun things that like for example, they had a nut-free carrot cake.
I had never had carrot cake.
And I didn't know.
Entire life.
I'm thinking, honey, I could have totally like baked you a nut-free carrot cake if you'd let me know. And he ate it one night at Plaza de Coco, but he was like,
oh, this is
what carrot cake tastes like.
Yeah. So just little things like that. Like it just, our servers were incredible. We had Mardika and Dee. They were amazing.
Yeah, they've done a great job with the allergy-friendly menus on the Wish class, I think, in general. Like because they were doing new menus and sort of reimagining dining to some degree on the Wish class, I feel like they've really been very intentional in creating these allergy-friendly menus rather than just an allergy-friendly version of some of them are an allergy-friendly version, but it's sort of pre-planned better, it seems. And of course, nuts are one of the most common allergies. Legumes are pretty common too, because most people with peanuts are not actually nuts, they're legumes, right? So a lot of people have a peanut allergy because they have a legume allergy, not just a nut allergy. Or maybe sometimes people just have a legume allergy and don't have a nut allergy, right? Although they're closely related. But it is interesting how much they've, I think, leaned into that. I think it's great. It really helps cruisers like yourselves feel comfortable, like you're not going to have an anaphylactic reaction at the end of dinner and have to worry about getting EpiPenned, right? Like, so, I mean, that's just having that peace of mind is great. And not to say there aren't times where people make mistakes or things do happen. So you got to stay vigilant if you have, a food allergy. At the same time, I'm sure it's nicer to have that experience than probably your local restaurant, Vincent. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix is interestingly very forward-thinking with some of the food alternatives and everything. So it does pop up, but it's not like expected, right? Like
it's not nearly at the same level as Disney, which is again another reason why we continue to vacation with them, just for that peace of mind.
Yeah, it's a peace of mind.
Yeah,
I mean. I think on some of our other ships that we've been on, like again, to Lyndsey's point, they're not nearly as rigorous. Like they're attentive, but like every single time then that we had our rotational dining, we already knew what to expect. And then if I saw something else that I was like, oh, well, can I have that? And they already knew. They're like, nope, sorry.
But we can try to customize it.
Don't try Lyndsey's dish.
Don't eat a bite of Lyndsey's food. Yeah. I mean, she might poke you with a fork anyway, Vincent. So you want to watch out.
Don't eat my stuff. No, I mean, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if they upped the protocol across the fleet, but it was really noticeable between our experience last year on the Magic and our experience this year on the Treasure, the difference in protocol.
I want to ask about the entertainment side of dining, because that was something you all were looking forward to, in particular, dining in Marvel and dining in Coco, in Plaza de Coco. So Marvel, of course, has 2 different shows. Coco also has 2 different shows. It's, I think, one of the best things about the Treasure. If you like a quiet dinner, don't go on the Treasure, I guess, but if you're like me and you like entertainment at dinner, like the Treasure is amazing, as is the Destiny. But I'm curious what you guys thought of the 2 shows in Marvel, and of course the 2 shows in Plaza de Coco.
Yeah, we loved it. I couldn't get through halfway of the first night of Coco without crying. And then sure enough, Lynn's kind of like bumps me and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I look over and my father-in-law is like,
my dad's crying too. Like,
it's just because we're so close with our families and everything. And that's what I loved about my in-laws and everything too. And so like my abuela, right, my grandma and my great grandma just remind me of Grandma Coco, right? So, and so, yeah, it was just very sweet moments, throughout the whole show.
And my mom's a music teacher, and so she really appreciated the mariachi music. And my dad has played guitar for, I don't know, since before I was born, right? So we all were so in it. I mean, we were really into the music, much more so than our neighbors. Not that they didn't like it, but we were like really loving it.
Some of the diners next to us, they were like is he
yeah, there
okay?
was this kid at the table next to us who kept looking at Vincent like, "Is there a problem?
Like why is this
why is this guy crying?
30-some-year-old man crying at dinner?"
Yeah,
I love that. When we were on board, we were on board just after you guys, actually. I think a week or 2 after you all. And we had a great table real close to the stage and right next to the walkway where they come in and come out. And so every time they would come in and come out, I was mouthing to them bravo and like clapping because they were just so like, I kept because I'm like you guys, I'm totally into the music, the singing, like the dancing. I'm just like immersed in the show that is being. I like the dinner too, but I'm like I could do this all without food in front of me and just like be completely captivated by what's happening on stage. All right, well let's talk about other entertainment on board, because we could talk about food forever. We'll loop back to adult dining a little later, but I want to ask about stage shows, and also I want to ask about Sage and Coriander, the storytellers. If you had gone to particularly their evening show, the Indiana Jones Choose Wisely, or if you went to maybe either of their 2 Grand Hall retellings or I guess there's one of Aladdin.
Yeah, we can start with Sage and Coriander. We were told on Embarkation Day by the people who served us at Coco lunch, that embarkation lunch, that the new cast had just been on the ship. So we were either like the first or the second sailing for this new cast on the ship. And I feel like our sailing was like the work out the kinks sailing, and that's totally okay. But I really feel like our Sage and Coriander were a little unbalanced. I did listen to your episode of your experience right after ours, and you loved them. So maybe they worked out our Coriander just felt like really she was overperforming the Sage, and it was kind of taking away a little bit.
Yeah, I think you were on their first, where the first sailing where they took over, and I think we were on the third sailing that they had taken over. I have to agree with you that I think she was a little bit maybe too,
and maybe she'd come down by your sailing. And I don't want to I can't get up there and do what she's doing, right? Let's be fair. But as somebody with a musical theater background, it was a little much at times. As far as their retelling of the story, we didn't see their end, it was earlier in the sailing, but we didn't go to the Aladdin one. But we did go to their other one. They're in the app, it's like an unnamed story, and they did an Enchantè retelling, which was really fun. And they're none of their mics worked the whole time, and I felt so bad. They kind of started, and I could watch the guy in the tech booth scrambling, and it just wasn't working, and. So I felt bad for them. They're trying to work out their dynamic, and now their mics aren't working. And honestly, they did a great job. I mean, the Disney performers are so well trained that they just carried on, right? And the kids loved it, and it was cute to watch. We did go to the Choose Wisely show. We went to the earlier show, which I think is a show where not as many people are as into it. And again, I think they were just working out their dynamic. We love. I grew up watching Indiana Jones, so we got all the little baby references, but it was okay. I have a hard time.
If I had to go and choose to do it again, I'd be like, okay, cool. I've done it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go choose an alternative
something else
option.
But I don't want our experience to deter anybody else. I think ours was just the work out the kinks sailing, and that's okay.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Like when you have a cast changeover, whenever that happens, and it's a little bit hard to predict, right? You have to really know what the ship's rotation exactly is and when it came out and all of that. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for even us to track. I didn't realize when we had gotten on until I was talking to cast members and realized, oh, okay, this is Treasure Cast 4. They only came on a couple sailings ago. Well, they only started, they actually come on a couple of sailings before they start, meaning before they perform, to watch the prior cast. So Treasure Cast 4 comes on like 2 weeks before Treasure Cast 3 leaves, and they sort of shadow and rehearse while they're on board during off times. But then they take over, and there is that transition period, and it's not going to be perfect. And it does take a while before they get their groove. Now, they've been rehearsing in Toronto for months as well, but usually a couple of months. But it's not the same as being in the space, in the costumes, on the ship, right? It's all
with the live feedback from the audience.
With the live audience.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, mad props. They're so talented. It's clear that they're so talented.
What about the theater shows? I'm curious how those were, because obviously you've got the same. Oh, okay. So you have the same. Yeah. I mean, it's the same. They're sort of from the same cast. So they're all starting at the same time. So when Sage and Coriander are new, the main stage cast is new. They're actually part of that group. And so you had it sounds like a better experience with the stage cast. Did you go see all three of the shows? You got Seize the Adventure, Beauty and the Beast, and of course, A Tale of Moana.
Yeah, we did. We went to all three.
Yeah.
Again, coming from a musical family, we have to go. That's like the thing, right? We have to go to the evening entertainment. We loved Seize the Adventure.
So good.
We love a jukebox, show type anyway. But we loved the bit from
Merida.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Wasn't prepared for that and was totally blown away. I was going to say the Go With the Flow song from the Finding Nemo the musical in Animal Kingdom. Wasn't expecting that either. So cute. Yeah. What a great way to kick off the sailing. Blown away by Moana.
Right?
Loved
she was
it.
And the woman who played Moana was phenomenal. Yeah.
Incredible. I agree with you, Sam, that Warrior Face song is the low. But they have to add stuff to make the show keep going, right? They need more. So there has to be one thing that people just aren't as in love with as much as the stuff that they know from the movie. But I love the way that they portrayed Tamatoa. I love the way that that transition from Te Kā into Te Whiti is so incredible, so cool.
And just Maui transitioning.
Everybody.
I again, don't want to maybe spoil it for some folks who haven't necessarily gone yet, but
Beauty and the Beast was good too. But to be honest, I think it was
we've just seen it so many times at the parks.
I've personally been in a production, so I'm
so you have a little bit of a bias there towards the production.
But there were features of it that were really cool. Some of the projections.
I think just watching how the stage actually moved, and actually now you're traveling through the corridors with them as the set pieces are actually moving. Brilliant. Right?
Very creative.
Yeah, the set design and blocking for that show are just incredible. And especially when you're thinking about the fact that the ship is moving and you have all these pieces of scenery. I mean, they're staircases and walls or arches and things like that. So they're not necessarily it's not like the floor is constantly moving, but there's big pieces that are being moved and making you feel like there's movement on the stage. And it's really beautifully and amazingly done.
It was incredible. Really, really, really incredible.
Well, what about some of the other activities on board? There's other things we don't categorize them as entertainment, but they are entertainment. They're activities, there are trivias, there's family game shows, there's pool deck time, there's aqua mouse time, right? Like what were some of the other things you guys got up to on board the ship?
We did the Imagineering the Ship tour. So well thought out. If you are, an adult sailing or you're okay leaving your kids, it's totally worth checking out. We took that tour the first day at sea. So then we kind of kept noticing things through the rest of the time while we were sailing. That was great. We did go to some of the alternative entertainment.
Yeah, I feel like we had done more activities on some of our previous sailings.
Yeah, we went to some trivia.
Versus this one.
Because this was the week of Easter, the ship was full and you could feel it. And that's okay. We were prepared for that. We just took it a little bit easier again because we didn't know how I was going to be feeling. I had started to swell a little bit. I think from the travel and being in the park. So there was like intentional, I really had intentional downtime every day to make sure that didn't get out of hand. And there was lots of time spent eating. Lots of time spent getting coffee for him.
What was that was always a spot for mom and dad. What was the name of the coffee?
Oh, they love the Cove Cafe. They love it up there.
Yeah. It is such a vibe up there.
My parents did both have spa appointments. We chose to forego the spa this time. Several treatments are listed as not being able to be performed on pregnant women. And I didn't want to book something and then get disappointed later that I had missed fine print or that they changed something. And also didn't know how I was going to be feeling. I experienced a lot of nausea in my first trimester. And I didn't know if I would feel well getting a massage on a moving ship if we happen to have rough seas, right? Let's just do the thought process on that. So,
but they love the massages.
I did one massage on land when I was quite pregnant, and they use this special pillow thing that you lay in. I got to tell you, I actually hated it. I love a massage, but I felt uncomfortable the whole time I was on my stomach in this thing that was designed to hold my belly. But I really so I get where you're coming from, Lyndsey. I would say unless you're somebody who's doing that at home and you know that you're enjoying a massage while pregnant, you might actually I love a massage. I hated the one that I got when I was pregnant, and I didn't know that.
You're totally right. I just got my first prenatal massage after our sailing, and I'm proportioned differently than that cushion, and it wasn't super uncomfortable, but it was I knew I was on a cushion the whole time. It was fine, but you're so right. There's no way to know unless you happen to own that cushion at home and can test it out. You don't know whether or not it's going to be worth it to invest the time and the money on the ship because you could end up sore later, right? But we ended up at some trivia. Loved
the fitness area. Fitness area was great. Obviously, to Lyndsey's point, a little bit more crowded, so you had to just slowly start figuring out people's behaviors of when they would start transitioning, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to just go in at this time, maybe a little bit later or a little bit earlier. But then that was probably our favorite spot was just always getting coffees throughout they have so many different coffee stations.
Our whole focus is this trip was
very leisure.
Was just how much
reading,
relaxing,
journaling.
Yeah, spending quality time together before baby gets here.
All right. Well, I got to ask about adult dining, and then I want to ask the full grandparent review as we sort of wind down here. We've skipped the ports, but I know the ports weren't a big focus for you all anyway, and so I'll ask a question if there were any highlights, but let's go right to that adult dining. You did a Enchantè lunch and you did a Palo dinner on Pirate Night. And I got to ask, I don't remember, had you guys been to Palo or Enchantè before? I know you're foodies, but I don't remember if you'd put Palo before. Okay.
Yeah, we did Palo on the Fantasy. And it was great. It was our only other adult dining experience. We didn't do any adult dining on our sailing on the Magic last year. That was a super last minute booking. This time around was great. Our Palo server his name is Victor. It was excellent. I mean, we kind of knew what to expect. So I loved getting to experience Palo Steakhouse on the Wish class, right? I love the tie-in of Beauty and the Beast through all three venues there, the, Enchantè, Palo, and the Rose, the bar that connects the two. Also, okay, huge shout out to the mocktails on board. Like, they've really stepped up their non-alcoholic game. Yeah. I was like really impressed. There was always something that I could get everywhere that was, that they could modify or just have real options for me available. So then I always felt like, I had a little fun sippy too. We did not do the prefix at Palo. We mostly, I had a lot of pasta. You had good pasta.
Yeah, I had steak and
pasta. Steak and pasta. My parents, I think also they both had steak and pasta, and we all had, I had the arugula salad. I think it's a good salad. I love the parm on it.
We had plenty of bread.
Oh gosh, the bread. Can I take it back to my room?
It's so good.
Yeah.
I love the one that's basically the pizza bread.
It's the best.
It's the best.
Like, you can make a pillow out of that, right?
Yeah.
And
don't sleep on that oil and vinegar too. The balsamic vinegar. Oh, scoop it up. Absolutely.
Enchantè though was on another level. Like, to be honest, our experience at Enchantè made Palo kind of feel like a rotational dining.
Yeah, totally.
And no shade to Palo, but we had zero expectations.
I mean, we went all out for it.
We went all out. We had the first seating. It was like an 11:15 seating. And we were the last to leave.
It was at the end of the half-hour experience.
We were there almost 4 hours. And we, again, went with my parents.
Unreal.
And, they asked, do you have time constraints? No. And they really leaned into that. We went with the collection, the highest level, the full one. My parents both chose wine pairings, and I actually chose the 0 proof pairing. For somebody, I think there was an episode where you interviewed a couple who didn't drink.
Yes.
And they were like, these are
it was Aaron and Todd. Shout out to Aaron and Todd. Yeah, they did it. Yeah.
I totally get what they're saying. If you're not somebody who has enjoyed cocktails, these are true mocktails. They're not just like nice juices and things that they put together to taste nice. Like that old fashioned in this non-alcoholic old fashioned in the 0 proof pairing was incredible. And I enjoy an old fashioned sparingly, right? But it was so well done. Like, you almost really didn't miss the whiskey. And they also had a non-alcoholic champagne on the champagne cart when they brought it over to me, which was so sweet. And I've had non-alcoholic wine. Most just tastes like juice. This did not. This was
overly fermented, vinegary.
Yeah, this was great. It was really good. Even my dad, both of my parents know their wines. Even my dad was impressed with the non-alcoholic champagne. But to speak on the food in Enchantè, there's not been anything that my husband and I have experienced quite like it. Yeah. My dad said that was probably the best dining experience he's ever had. And they have eaten in some incredible places all over the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really special. But I think it was the total package, right? And everybody talks about Enchantè. I mean, it's the same food at lunch and dinner. But I really would recommend going at lunchtime because you get the gorgeous views of the ocean.
At night it's dark. You can't see it. Yeah, that's a great point.
It really added to it. And I mean, don't book anything else because you'll be there a while if you want to be.
Yeah. And then you will nap.
And then you'll have to go back to dinner and eat more. They have the little surprise things as they bring out the amuse-bouche and the different, we counted the courses. It was like 14 courses of food. It's not really just 7. They did surprise us with a really sweet celebration cake for our pregnancy. Yeah. That was really sweet. There were a few courses they had to modify as the collection is very seafood forward. And I, being pregnant, can't have raw fish.
No raw fish. Yep.
I also chose to not have caviar. And the way that they modified,
caviar dish though.
Apparently,
that was my favorite. Absolute favorite.
Yeah.
I just remembered it. Like Lynn said, caviar, and my mind just went back in time.
I know.
It's great.
Yeah.
I have to say that the quality of food that you get at Enchantè or Remy stands up to any Michelin star restaurant or 2 Michelin star restaurant on land. So for people like thinking, oh, it's a very expensive meal. Yeah, it's expensive as compared to not doing any adult dining or just to like a price fix Palo. At the same time, what you're getting you cannot get for that price on land. Neither the service nor the quality of food nor the creativity. So it's a fabulous experience. It is a long experience, so it's going to take up quite a bit of time. I do think that's and you have to be on the more adventurous side. But of course, they can accommodate things like nut and legume allergies. They can accommodate no raw fish or seafood. Right, like there are absolutely food allergies, food preferences, things like that, they can accommodate as long as it's at the extreme, right? If you're like somebody, I don't eat anything, sorry, don't go. Don't go.
Not for you.
Just don't waste your money.
Yeah. But for those who have the time and the time to be able to commit, I mean, it's an investment in an incredible experience and so worth it if you are somebody who enjoys fine dining. And yeah, it was like a dance watching the way they would, the servers would come to your table and
synchronized,
pick up the plates at the same time. Our server, like the head server of our like large team of servers, her name is Megan, and she was phenomenal.
She had just gotten promoted.
She had just gotten called up to Enchantè like the week prior.
The head.
Yeah, so
she did
really
a phenomenal
special.
job.
We got pictures with her at the end because it was just, I mean, we felt like half the staff at Enchantè was waiting on the 4 of us. Everybody else in the restaurant was just tables of 2. So we had like double the people serving us, and it was incredible.
And we had the little corner as well.
Oh yeah, there's like a corner table. It's kind of behind like an accent wall. It felt private. It wasn't a private table, but it felt like a private table, and that also just added to it. I mean, we could sit here.
That honestly was the highlight of the trip.
Yeah, we could gush for an hour and a half only on that if we wanted to.
My in-laws can attest to that. They were like, this is like a highlight dinner of the trip, of their lives as well. Yeah. So it's really cool.
It was amazing.
Well, speaking of the in-laws, the parents, I got to know what their sort of overall review was. They have sailed, you mentioned, on Disney previously, but not in 10 years. They sail on Viking very regularly on longer sailings. Like, are they at the point, like, did they enjoy? I mean, it sounds like they enjoyed the food at, of course, Enchantè and Palo, and that they enjoyed the food in main dining and the entertainment. Are they at the point where they would say, oh yeah, we would absolutely book another Disney cruise, let's say, on their own ? With you all ? And with future baby or babies ?
They loved it. Yeah. First question, did they like it? They did. They loved it. They were really impressed with their stateroom. Of course, they're Disney travelers like us in the way that they enjoy the theme parks, right? I grew up being taken by them to the parks, and we do parks trips with them. So they appreciate the level of entertainment, the level of quality. I don't know that they would book a sailing on Disney just for the 2 of them, but they would absolutely come on another sailing with us and our son in the future. Totally.
I mean, we were already talking about it.
Oh, for sure. Like we bought a placeholder and we were like, yeah, maybe you come with us next year, kind of thing, or whatever. So yeah, they really loved it. I will say that there were a few times that they really felt the crowd, right? Viking ships, the median age is a lot older. They're typically some of the younger ones, honestly, on their sailings. And their ships are much smaller. And even on their ocean ships, and my parents have sailed several ocean cruises with Viking, they're still a little bit smaller, and the guest count just isn't that high. So like when we went to the sail away party, it was packed, right? Of course, it's sail away. And my dad was like, wow, there's a lot of people on this ship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's also spring break, like in the peak season of cruising, right? I feel like if we had chosen to sail in February, their experience might have been a little bit different. But and the crowd that
your experience also would have been technically different at that time.
My experience would have been very different. I was very sick in February,
not your friend.
And the seas in February are very different than the seas in, late spring. But yeah, they loved it. They were impressed with the food. Like I said, I think there was just one dish that my dad did not like in main dining. Of course, impressed with the service because they know the quality of Disney. Yeah, they loved it.
Love that. All right. Well, before we wrap up with a couple of closing questions, I'm not going to give you a full rapid fire because we did one under your last episode, but I am going to do a couple updated questions. But I do want to ask, were there any highlights from, your day at Castaway or your days at the other two ports, Tortola and St. Thomas? We'll keep that, just to like, what was the best thing you did amongst the ports?
Yeah, we did get off the ship on St. Thomas. We technically did book an excursion on St. Thomas. We booked the Sky Ride to Paradise Point, the little gondola trip. And the reason that we booked that is because you technically don't have a report time for that excursion. It's go as you want. Yeah, it's whenever you want to go, which I really liked the idea of, because as I've gotten further and further into my pregnancy, it takes me a little longer to get with it in the mornings. If I move too much too fast, I might get nauseous, or I'm going to absolutely need to eat like kind of right away. Right.
Yeah. And the photos up at the top.
The photos were incredible.
There's a little spot where you can actually get the cruise ship in the background. And it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
can I ask how much the ticket price was, if you recall?
Yeah, I think it was only $30 a person.
Perfect. That's basically what the same price that if you buy it yourself. So that's good, because I hate the upcharge on a lot of the DCL excursions, of course, but some of them, in order, they include transportation and a specific meeting time, but this one obviously doesn't, because you walk to it right from the ship. But that's great. I think the price for an adult was about $30, and I think for a kid was about $20 when we did it, because we just walked up and did it. We didn't pre-book it or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't recall what the price on the app was for a child. We weren't booking a child. But they just had a list. The employees of the Skyride had lists of guests who had pre-booked with their cruise line. So we just checked in with them, gave our names, got our wristbands, and off we went. And it was perfect. Just a little nice walk around the little port shopping area, and then over to the Skyride, and kind of in reverse on the way back to the ship. It was beautiful. We got some really pretty pictures with my parents. We did not get off at Tortola. My parents had originally booked an excursion to tour the baths in Tortola. And then once we got on board, they changed some of the fine print as far as how long the excursion was going to take and how long some of the lines were going to be. I don't remember exactly what the specifics were, but it was enough that my parents went, you know what, I think I want to skip this. I don't necessarily want to wait in line the whole time in the direct sun for that specific excursion. They might have added those disclaimers because it was spring break and really busy. But we skipped
and other
Tortola.
Cruise lines are there in Tortola.
We were not the only ship. As far as Castaway, we tend to not book excursions on Castaway because we want to enjoy time on the island.
Just the beach.
We had a late arrival into Castaway, and then it took a little bit longer docking.
It was like 20-mile-hour winds or something.
Yeah, it was incredibly windy, so it just took them extra time docking, which was okay. Yeah. For us, it worked out well because we still had quite the food hangover from Enchantè, so we were still like slowly moving that next morning. And it was cool to be awake and present while they were doing their docking procedures, and we stayed on the port side, so we could awesome. You could see all that happen, which was really cool. My dad loved that. He was like out there taking pictures of the guys with the ropes. And
then actually on the beach now, they have the new renovated buffet area.
Oh yeah, the last time we sailed, they had updated the buffet, and because this was a spring break sailing, the majority of cruisers have children, so there were much fewer adults in the at Serenity Bay, which was actually really nice. We got over there and it was like really calm and lovely.
Stingrays.
Yeah, my parents had watched some stingrays in the water, kind of get close to them.
So cool.
And Yeah, so it was lovely.
Yeah, that Hangar 98 is pretty nice. It serves Serenity Bay, and it also serves the Mickey and Minnie Cove Cabanas over there. And it's got it's been updated. It's got some great food selections, and they've added some food selections that weren't previously there as well. Love it. All right. Well,
I gotta ask what's next.
Yeah, I gotta ask. I gotta first ask about their favorite ship. So we're not gonna do a full rapid fire. I feel like
just slightly less arbitrary, a little less judgment.
A little less judgment. I want to ask two questions. The most important question for me, which is, what is your favorite Disney Cruise Line stage show now that you have seen Beauty and the Beast and Moana and Seas the Adventure, right? You've seen you've also been on the Magic, so you've seen Tangled, and of course, Brian's favorite, the Golden Mickeys, right? Like, you have a lot of great stuff to choose from. Please tell me you're not choosing the Golden Mickeys, or you're relegated to losing rapid fire just like Brian does. But yeah, I'm curious what I'm going to ask each of you. You do not have to give me the same answer. Please don't change. Yeah, please don't change your answer based on what your partner picks. This is an individual question. Okay, so yeah, Vincent, we're going to start with you. Your favorite Disney Cruise Line stage show?
Oh, the stage show is definitely hands down Moana for me.
Yeah. Lyndsey, what about you?
I think mine's also Moana. It sounds so silly to almost say that my favorite one might be Seas the Adventure, but I think that's just because classic Disney characters are really nostalgic to me, and they feel so special. But if I'm going to look at it from a really critical lens, it's Moana for the creativity and the quality, for sure.
Yeah. All right. The next most important question, probably Brian's most important question, is your favorite ship. I mean, I feel like that changes as people go on additional ships in the fleet. You guys have been on the Fantasy, you've been on the Magic, and now the Treasure. Did I miss any? Is there any other? I've
sailed on the Fantasy.
You sailed on
Fantasy twice.
Fantasy twice. That's what I thought. So you've sailed on, all three classes, setting aside the Adventure, which is its own monstrosity class. I'm going to call it the monstrosity class instead of the Adventure class. But yeah, you sailed on three different classes, very different layout on the Wish class, of course. But I'm curious, what's your favorite ship, and then maybe why? And Lyndsey, we'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, I think now mine's the Treasure, which is a big jump because I love the Fantasy. She's
great.
She's great. But I didn't have any of the aversions that other people have about the Wish class. We're not huge pool people. So the pools being spread out didn't really matter to us. And we don't mind being around kids. So the fact that the lounges are spread out, we didn't really mind that either. But I love the use of artwork. We're huge parks people. So the Treasure being a love letter to the parks fans means a lot to us too. So I think of the ships we've sailed on, and I don't think any of the current ships are going to change that. But I think it's the Treasure.
All right, Vincent, you?
Ditto. Yeah, that's it. It's almost like we're married.
It's almost.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. They did a phenomenal job. And I think, part of it too is, regardless of the ship, it's what you make of it, right? I would pick this ship because now, it's just like any destination that you end up going to, it's who you shared it with. And being with our family for this one last time before the extra special edition, made it just that much more memorable. We're going to be able to tell little Bean, be like, hey buddy, this is the ship that you were already on and you didn't even know it. You know what I mean? That's
inside mommy. Yeah.
Baby's first cruise.
Yeah. Baby's first cruise. I love that. Yeah. That's so special, Vincent. I absolutely love that. Well, you guys, I can't wait to hear Brian's next question because I'm dying to know the answer to it also. I got to say, as Marvel fans, I will be interested if you are going to book the Destiny because it's got so much that leans into that Marvel space. And so, but I'll let Brian ask his question when I interrupt him already.
That's such a big lead up for a 2-word question. What's next?
I know. I love it though. That's the way our marriage works. I'm the lead up with all the stuff, and then he asks the simple question.
I can relate. Sam, I can relate. We did book a placeholder on board. So we are looking at what's next. We are pleased to see a good handful of sailings out of San Diego next spring. We are already looking at maybe Alaska, but it would be really easy to fly to San Diego from Phoenix with a baby. It's a really short flight. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at those once we are past that 6-month mark, because babies can't sail until they're 6 months on most sailings, a year on a handful. So we're looking at some like Mexican Riviera or the Baja sailings out of San Diego. Although you're so right, Sam, I have my eye on the Destiny. It's just a much, much longer flight to get to Fort Lauderdale, which you guys know being in Washington State. So
yeah. And of course, the Destiny's only doing 4 and 5 night sailings. And so if you want to do a longer sailing, you have to do a back-to-back. And so it is a longer trip, especially with a newborn especially, but even with a toddler, like they need a lot of stuff and you got to schlep a lot of stuff with you. And so schlepping that across the country is just a lot of work, and schlepping it to San Diego from any place on the West Coast is a lot easier. So yeah, totally get that. Well, I gotta let you plug. I know that you're a travel advisor, and so want to let you tell folks where they can reach out if they want to book something with you.
Yeah. I'm a travel advisor and the agency manager for Wanderlust Journeys. We're a small agency based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where my parents live, where I'm from, but we have agents all over the country. My personal specialties is Disney and cruising. Kind of what my husband and I do a lot of. So, if you would like to know more about my experience sailing pregnant or just traveling pregnant or any kind of Disney or cruising vacations, you can reach out to Lyndsey at wanderlustjourneys.net.
And it's Lyndsey with 2 Y's. So Lyndsey. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, folks. Well, thank you guys so much. We've, of course, loved having you guys on. You're welcome to come back anytime. And with that, we'll just say thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.